What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a late night emergency podcast brought to you by the Playbook Sports. Breaking news. Obviously, we've sat on this for about 24 hours now since it was announced that Anthony Richardson, no longer the starter for the Indianapolis Colts, not due to injury, simply due to play, and then thinking that Flacco gives them a better chance to win. This has obviously sparked a ton of debate. Is this the right move for the Colts? Is this a huge mistake that they're making? Are they, robbing Peter to pay Paul, robbing from the future to pay for now? So, of course, we had to get our resident Colts fan, Bobby, on here. Bobby, welcome to the show. It's always an absolute pleasure to have you on. How are we feeling? What do you got for us?
I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be here under these circumstances, though. Does not feel as such. Couldn't even wear my Colts gear today. I can't support Jim Irsay. But no, like I said, I mean, it's a really tough decision. Don't understand what the franchise is thinking now or going forward. No direction. Just a mockery from the top down. Disappointed to be a Colts fan. There's just no leadership at the top, and that starts from the top down. But I guess to start, I did want to ask just one overarching question for you guys and kind of get your thoughts. So, at the very core, what is the main goal of an NFL franchise or an NFL team? When you start the season, what is the goal of that team? I guess would be my only question.
Has to be to either win the Super Bowl or show that you're building towards winning a Super Bowl. There's no point in being middling.
Yeah. Same thing. Okay. I was going to say, at the end of the day, every single team comes out to win a Super Bowl. You don't get backup trophies. No one gives a shit about runner up. So, for me, I guess that's what's probably the most frustrating part about this is, I'm not saying Anthony Richardson's the answer, but at the end of the day, in order to win a Super Bowl, you got to beat the Chiefs, who have Patrick Mahomes. You can't do that with a 40-year-old Joe Flacco. You can't do that with bad quarterback play. You need a quarterback with elite traits that is able to compete with him and basically play hero ball at the end of the day to will a team to win to a championship. So I think as a fan that, they say they want to win now and things of that nature, to me, it's super frustrating because Flacco's not going to do that. You're a 4-4 team. You're middle of the pack in EPA for defensive and offensive. You don't have a stellar defense. There's just no direction. And at the end of the day, making this move, yeah, we'll be 9-8. Sell some more tickets, I guess, whatever you want to say, even though Richardson's the only person that brings out people buying tickets. But yeah, it just seems like there's no direction to really reach that end goal. We're just kind of doing whatever suits us in the moment. So
yeah, it is definitely head scratching, honestly, because what changed from this past Sunday's game when they lost to the Texans? What's different about what Richardson has done but the first 7 weeks of the season, other than the games he missed, right? It's like, what is the issue here? Why make this change right now? And again, I'm on the page. I think it's a mistake, and I'm just going to get this out there. I don't understand this move at all. What do you get by seeing Joe Flacco in this roster, right? That I get it from a long-term viewpoint, like next year, even just next year. This is a huge mistake. This is like the Panthers saying, all right, Andy Dalton, you're going to start for us. Why? You're 1-7. Why not find out what you have in Bryce Young? For the Colts, do they genuinely believe that the roster that they have, led by Joe Flacco, can win it all? Because if they don't, if there's even a question in their mind, like, we probably can't win the Super Bowl this year. Why? What are you doing? When you drafted this kid at 4th overall, knowing damn well he needed reps. He had 8 starts in college, a very limited number of starts in college. You knew that he has every physical trait in the entire planet. He's a specimen of a human being. And you drafted him knowing that. And last year, Addison, you were way ahead of your time on calling this, man. You said Gardner Minshew coming in and playing the way he did was horrible news for the Colts. It was absolutely worst case scenario. Because Minshew's stats last year, solid. And again, like I said, big mistake. I am playing the role of devil's advocate for this one and just doing some slight pushback on it, just so that way we're not all in here, agreeing on it. No, that's not fun television, right? So Minshew last year, pretty dang solid. 7-6 as a starter for the Colts, so above 500, but not anything to write home about. 62% completion percentage, 3,300 yards, 18 total touchdowns, 9 picks, and a QBR of 60, where scale of 0 to 100, 50 being average, so just above average. And then you look at what Flacco's done this year, and Flacco's stats, 2-1, 708 yards in 3 games, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick, QBR of 73.7. This is where I can say, if Steichen was told you got to win now, then I get it, because Richardson's stats don't support playing him this season. Just his numbers, his raw numbers, right? 44.4% completion percentage, 950 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8 total turnovers, a record of 2-3, and a QBR of 38.4. It's been hard this year. It has definitely been rough this year. So I don't know. And it seems like this call came from the top because all of a sudden everyone's like, wait a minute, Richardson's not starting anymore. Like Pittman Jr. today, confused, did not know about it, learned about it from social media. So who made this decision and why is the questions I would want to ask. There's so many things that we don't know about this whole situation that make me wonder. Addison, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was gonna say Shane Steichen came out and said that it was his decision, but that's coach talk where he's forced to say that regardless, because I've heard multiple coaches this year say we're sticking with a guy. He's not the quarterback a couple weeks later. Look at Tennessee, look at Carolina. But just talking about the locker room, and Bob, one thing you touched on was the goal of an NFL team and NFL players is to win the Super Bowl, not to bring it to the Bears, but Cole Kmet has started preaching this religiously when it comes to when he gets a mic, and that is he knows he's got 10 to 12 years at max in the NFL. He's a lucky one if he gets there, first off, because that's not even close to how long most guys stick around. But say he has 10 years of football, he's already on year 5 almost. He's wasted half his career on bad teams in Chicago. The goal for him, and hopefully all players, is to win the Super Bowl. And then you talk about the locker room, Josh Downs, how he was speaking. He's pissed. His body language was terrible. His voice, his tone of voice was upset. And I understand it because when he was talking, he says, Joe Flacco is 40, almost 40 years old. He's only got so many snaps left in him. I almost look at it like the locker room could turn on it the other way and say, how are we trying to win now? And this also screws me for the future. So what the fuck, man? We really should be with Rich because, hey, I'm going to build all this chemistry with a 40-year-old that's not my quarterback. Right. So we're going to have to just watch this season if Flacco starts the rest of the year and rebuild it all with Richardson. Obviously, I'm going to lean to the side of disagreeing just because that's how I talk when we talk about it on the pod. I just am not on the mindset of let's compete and be mid. And I understand that the front office and coaches and players, they might not want to suck, but at the same time, do you suck? The Colts are 4-4, have not lost a game by more than 6. And we'll obviously talk on it more throughout the games, but in one of Flacco's starts, he threw for 350 yards and 3 tuds, and they lost. So is the team even good? And if the team's not good, then this is a really questionable move because it'd be different if you were for sure a Super Bowl contender. Okay, I could maybe get it. In my mind, the Colts have now put expectations of winning a playoff game, most likely on the road if they cannot win the division, and if not, 2 playoff wins. Because again, this is a team that's been in every single football game, and now you're changing it. And if it's been all despite Richardson, Flacco needs to uprise this team, excel this team beyond normal expectations. I think it's fair to say they have to win a playoff game, or else it's a complete blow up. I think it's a terrible decision to begin with. You can maybe justify it then and say, look, we at least competed and this is why. But if you don't do that in their next 4 games, we'll see if they're a competitive team or not. We'll get into it more, but man, it's really tough for the players, that locker room. And it's an interesting decision to say the least. We'll obviously talk about it more.
Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you said. I mean, one thing too, and I don't want to sit here and act like Richardson's the guy, but just to be honest, you got to figure it out.
He's 22.
He's 22 years
10
old.
Games. 10 games.
10 games. And, here's the thing. Like I said, Mahomes is that standard. And until that's busted, Josh Allen, Lamar's of the world, those are guys that can go in. And if they were to play Mahomes, you at least say, guess what? They have a QB that is good enough to compete because they have special, unique, alien traits. But, and I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is 100% that guy, but you sure as shit got to find out. You can't just go in with a 40-year-old quarterback. We've done that in the past when you go through the QB carousel. Jacoby Brisket, Beef Brisket, come on, really. Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Gardner Minshew, Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, Nick Foles, Brian Hoyer, Scott Tolzien, Flacco, and Richardson. That's under Ballard's reign. That is disgustingly bad. There's no one being in place at the quarterback position for the foreseeable future, which makes it impossible to build a team around because you really don't know what your weaknesses are and what is actually the strength of your team. Going back to this too, Addison, you mentioned it with the Jags, and it kind of goes into the accountability thing for me as well. But since from 2022 to 2024, as of October 7th, so a few games ago, but the defense was 25th in yards per game. 25th in yards per game under Gus Bradley, 27th in rush yards per game, and 30th in points per game. We're talking accountability. Our defense is not good. It's not like we have the Bears defense and we're saying, you know what, we need to win now. I'd kind of get that a little bit more, but the team is just not there yet. The production on offense, besides Jonathan Taylor and Josh Downs, is not there yet. Michael Pittman's hurt, whatever his issue is. Alec Pierce is still just a deep ball threat. AD Mitchell can't seem to catch a cold. So there's just no consistency. And it's very tough for me to see what the vision of the team is going forward, or even how we're going to manage to win more games this year with Joe Flacco at quarterback. So
it becomes really tricky, especially like I think I said not too like a couple weeks ago, maybe I was like, if Shane Steichen was told by Ballard and by Irsay, hey, regardless of what our record is this year, you have your job next year. Your job is completely secure. There's absolutely no reason to not play Anthony Richardson. If I'm Shane Steichen and I'm told, if Irsay calls him up, is like, dude, start winning some football games. And then I'm like, okay, well, right now, at this moment in time, Flacco probably gives us the best chance to win just from a pure statistical standpoint. But like Addison said, even in his best games, they still lost. So and you're in Hard Knocks, the Giants GM, his son was like, you only get this job one time. You don't want to blow it. I don't know if that is something that Irsay called down and he's like, hey, you guys better figure this out and get going or else you're both cooked. And if he did, he's completely screwed his own team in his future, because that's not how you win in this league. You cannot, this is such a microwave society, man. It's, if you aren't good immediately, you're dead to me. You're officially dead to me. Anthony Richardson was a known project. It was a known fact, and Steichen was there when they picked him. Steichen had already been hired. He handpicked his quarterback because he couldn't have Stroud or Young, so he said, all right, I need Richardson. You knew what you were getting yourself into. And the Colts have continuously, ever since Andrew Luck retired, have just gone with we think our roster is good enough to win 10, 11 games with any quarterback back there that just is a savvy vet. We just need a veteran presence. And guess what? What has it gotten you? One playoff win with Phillip Rivers, maybe? I don't even know if they...
A playoff appearance.
A playoff appearance and a loss with Phillip Rivers, and that's it. It's like, you have an opportunity to develop somebody who has all the physical traits in the world. You cannot just piss that away because you're impatient. They're going to trade him away to someone for a 4th or 5th round pick, and that team is going to develop him, and it's going to be curtains, man.
Yeah, I said it last year as much as I could this offseason, but last year's Colts team having the success being a game away from the playoffs really does hurt, and did hurt Anthony Richardson this year, because last year, as a Colts fan, in his rookie season, if he played all year and the Colts won 5 games and he looked like this all year, but there were the flashes, because there have been some elite flashes, you see that and go, oh, we're fine. It'd be totally okay. But it's just because it's his second year into his 5-year deal that it's all of a sudden, we got to blow it up right now. And it's frustrating because Anthony Richardson, reported he's devastated over the news. It's like, obviously, you've been told you're the franchise, you're the face of this franchise, and you will be for the foreseeable future. And to have your crazy owner, really, that's what I think it boils down to, come in and make the call. Like, that's how does Dak perform down in Dallas? How can Richardson even try to be stable in Indianapolis when you got a coach that, if you're not the Black Peyton Manning, that's an athlete too, you're a bust. You're fucking terrible. I drafted you to be the Black Peyton Manning, and you're not. And I'm shocked. And it's like, okay, how many people ever said that was Anthony Richardson coming out of the college? It wasn't. It was this kid's played 10 games since high school at most, and we need to get him reps. And Bob, I'm sure you'll touch on it, but having an interview in their introductory press conference with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard right there, and they're saying that Ballard, this could take 2 to 3 seasons worth of development. 2 to 3 seasons. Where has that gone? Terry Bradshaw wouldn't have played in this league. Okay, well, you could have Terry Bradshaw on your hands, and you're throwing him out, Ballard. And is that, again, I get it though, if it's Irsay making the call, how can you say no to the owner / GM, even though he's not, but I'm sure he comes in with the hammer fist and says, this is the decision. And it's like, it's David Tepper coming in and saying, draft Bryce Young. How do you say no? You just put in the CJ Stroud card and get fired. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And so I want to give Shane a little bit of slack from that perspective, because again, it's got to be Irsay. As much as Shane said it was his decision, Shane has been constantly backing this guy up. Any opportunity he gets with Richardson, you cannot tell me the tapping out play is what did it. when you have opposing teams' coaches and Brian Flores defend Anthony Richardson better than anybody in the Colts organization, it tells me they were all blindsided and we're not prepped for this. Because Brian Flores was able to think of a statement and give Anthony Richardson a glowing review talking about him. No Colts organization member knew this was coming, and it was just thrust upon them, and they've handled this horrendously.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough.
It is. And I think too, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more into it, but a lot of things when you draft a quarterback 4th overall, we were at the draft. It was one of the reasons why I wanted Anthony Richardson over Will Levis. The talent there, and I understand it's raw, but the reason coaches are in positions is to get the best out of their players. And I understand Shane Steichen's this offensive mastermind. I get that. But at the end of the day, Kevin O'Connell said it, your guy's favorite, said that organizations fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail organizations. And it really is true. And coming out of the draft, there's really not that many people you can compare Anthony Richardson to, just from a sheer, he had such a small sample size, the talent off the charts, the 40, just a physical specimen, the arm, craziest arm we've ever seen, anything like that. There are 2 guys that really come to mind. It's Trey Lance and Josh Allen. And with Josh Allen, he was not that great at Wyoming, but he had all the physical tools. Going back to it though, Addison, you're spot on. Chris Ballard, with one of his last press conferences, mentioned you need to be patient. If you're not patient with Josh Allen, the NFL looks a lot different today. Let me tell you something. If the Bills pulled him after the first 10 games that he had, we'd be talking a lot differently about the situation.
I'd be a lot happier.
Oh my goodness, great. Right. And that's, it's very tough, but I guess for me, I don't understand at all where this organization wants to go. So, there's 2 trains of thought with this. I know Shane Steichen mentioned, we're not worried about the future. We're worried about right now. Well, if you're worried about right now, let me ask a few questions. Why in free agent? We made 2 signings in free agency. 2. Everyone else we brought back. Raekwon Davis and Joe Flacco. And I'm sorry to say this, but those 2 players do not move the needle whatsoever from the team you brought back. So, okay, we trust our own. We develop our own. You still have $20 million in free agency in cap space that you're not using in free agency. Like, I guess I just don't, why are we not trading 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round picks to get better if it really is about winning right now and that's all you care about? Then mortgage the future right now to win games, because you can't say one thing and do the other. Like, I know that's a ridiculous thing, but yeah, why are we not going to get players? Why are we not going to try to sign Deontay Johnson? Anyone, it doesn't matter. David Njoku, I know we mentioned tight end needed with the Colts. Like, you can't say these things and then not act on it. It's the same thing as what they did, though. They said, we're going to give him time. We're going to give him time. We're going to give him time. You've given him 10 games. He's only played, 217 reps at quarterback. Mac Jones got 1,300 reps at quarterback. Kenny Pickett, 713 reps. Sam Howell, 631. These guys don't have the talent that Anthony Richardson has. Granted, they're not, the stats may look a lot different, but I'm going to just say this too. Most recent game, 2 of 13. Out of the 13 passes, 7 of them were over 15 yards, considered deep passes. He was 1 of 7. Shane, what are you doing to help your quarterback? I think I texted in our group chat when the game was happening. Second half, they start to run an offense that helps Anthony Richardson, running an option, running RPOs. Kylan Granson has a nice little 3-4 yard catch. He was 7 of 11 for 80 yards with 2 drops, one of them being Tyler Goodson, wide open on a go ball, just drops it, second time against the Texans, but we hold people accountable on the Colts. Sure. 2 rushes for 15 yards, though. Like, the second half shows that when you run things to make your quarterback excel, he can actually do a decent job, which, it's kind of a crazy thought, but, you help your players and put them in good positions, they actually do better.
Actually succeed.
Shucky darns. Like, what are we? Wow. It's not rocket scientists. Like, you just help your players play to their ability. That's why Sam Darnold's look great with the Vikings. Like, they understand what his capabilities are and put him in good situations. Also, the amount of 3rd and longs that we had this past game were disgusting. But if this is something where if this is not Jim Irsay, Anthony Richardson should have been pulled starting the second half of the Texans game, and there's no question about it. In my mind, this has to be a Jim Irsay thing. Shane Steichen and Ballard have preached patience, have patience with him. You don't take a quarterback at 4 with that much inexperience and that many traits and expect him to be great right away. I do think you're spot on, Nate, with Addison's point last year. Sucks that we had Minshew play as well as he did. And I also do think it really hurts that Richardson didn't play at all last year, because now they feel this pressure. Even though he's only started 10 games, it's not like he is even had a full season of experience under his belt. But Like I said, I just really don't understand the win now mentality. We're not that great of a team right now. 4-4 record proves it. We lost to Jacksonville with Joe Flacco. They're the worst, one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't see the point of win now. I don't see any plan for this current team or the future team as well. So
Yeah, and just to touch on it real quick with the limited snaps he's had, Richardson sat. Kevin Bowen tweeted this. He's a beat reporter for the Colts. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's elite.
best ever.
Um, he sat for 85% of the season last year with the injury. This was all said last year. He's going to be able to sit, look at things, see things. Guess what? That does not always translate. It is best to get out there and play football. Again, not to talk it back to my own fan perspective. Jordan Love through the first 8 games last year, I was grinning. Green Bay doesn't have the Hall of Fame quarterback. They don't have the good quarterback finally. And then guess what? They go on a 3-game win streak to end the season, win a playoff game, and everything changes. And Jordan Love gets $250 million, whatever the contract was, biggest contract ever. And it's like, that's off of 1 season for him. And it can go both ways. They can buy in too quickly. They can give up too quickly. But it's like the Packers last year, 6-8. Should they have given up on Jordan Love? It's a team sport. I get it. But your quarterback leads the team. And if wins are that important, 6-8, that's not good enough. Sure, but again, it's just giving up on the player with he's going to sit down. It's going to help him. He's already sat. He's already sat. Sure, he gets to be healthy on the sideline. I don't know what the difference is. He's going to watch the game through the helmet. I don't know. But that's what I just don't grasp. If anything, this just really, hey man, this is the biggest test of his life when it comes to mental hurdle here. Because how do you get over this? I don't know. This is sapping all confidence away. And it's just Kevin Bowen even again tweeted out a picture of Richardson. It's like he's locked in today, but it's shown zero personality. And it's like, well, yeah, it's because what's the point? The kid's heart is just absolutely stomped on, got ripped out of his chest and stomped on. And it wasn't, again, nobody knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And it just happens randomly on a Tuesday. And it's just as weird as it is. And I know that's not the case, but man, is this going to save Richardson though at the end of the day? Because hey, Colts next 4 games they're fucked. They're really tough. Vikings, Bills, Jets who are bad, but you never know, and then Lions. 3 of those 4 teams are great this season, and then the Jets. It's like, man, if they go 0-4, I could not imagine the discourse if it was Richardson during those 4 games. And I know that is not a thought process. That's me trying to get the best version out of this possible. But it's like when Flacco goes 0-4, like he could, what's the conversation then? What is it? How long is Flacco's leash as well? And what's the conversation if they do go 0-4 against these 3 really good teams and the Jets? What's the discourse? We'll see. And hey, for Colts fans and for Jim Irsay and his coke habit, allegedly, I hope they go 2-2 or 3-1. But and again, I think that's fair to say they have to beat 2 of those teams, and one of them has to be the Bills or Lions, because you guys got to be contenders now. And again, I know I've already hammered that point home, but that's really my biggest point of all this is you better be contending for the bowl. And if you're not, man, I get Richardson's young, he's got the time there, but it's just how many quarterbacks, Bob, I think you might even have this stat, but how many quarterbacks and what does it look like when you bench a guy to come back? And it's like, who does this? Oh, we're going to bench him. We're going to rattle him deep to his core, but he's going to be better for it. He's going to be better for this on the other. How many quarterbacks does this actually happen to where the franchise gets benched and then comes back? Because it's not many to my brain. And it is, if it's on a different team, it's on a different team.
Yeah, so since 74 quarterbacks have been drafted in the first round since 2002, and then also Bryce Young this year have been benched, have started, been benched, and then restored to the starting lineup. So, yeah, like I said, it's sexy Rexy Grossman and Alex Smith, and now Bryce Young, and hopefully Anthony Richardson. But another thing too, I guess, and it's one thing that I don't think people really comprehend is, okay, let's start to look to the future. Let's look to draft a new quarterback. Okay, well, 2 things. One, if you go 9-8 or 8-9, you're never going to be able to get a blue chip prospect. That's just a fact. With this year's quarterback class, Carson Beck. Okay, Anthony Richardson's younger than Carson Beck. Cam Ward, about the same age as Cam Ward. He's the same age as every one of these quarterbacks that's going to be coming out of the draft this year.
He's younger than Shador Sanders. He's
Right.
younger
And
than
it's like,
Sanders.
so I guess my thing is, it's the whole youth idea in my mind. Yeah, he's been in the league for 2 years, but he is literally the same age as these rookies that'll be coming out this year. And in the same sense, if you're really a win now team and that's your goal, 9-8's never going to get you a great quarterback. 8-9 is never going to get you a great quarterback. So it just doesn't make any sense. And honestly, like the nearsightedness to say, okay, well, we're going to produce now, but we're not going to worry about the future. Once again, it's asinine. We've done this over and over and over again. Next year, we'll bring in Matt Stafford, and then the year after that, we'll bring in Kirk Cousins, and then the year after that, we'll bring in Jacoby Brissett, and then we'll bring in Jameis Winston, and then we'll bring in Dak Prescott when he's 52 years old. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Our team is not good enough. And at the end of the day, your quarterback needs to be a difference maker. He can't be just, a game manager for you. It doesn't. Ask Brock Purdy how that went, even though he's a lot better than that, I will say. But just doesn't work like that.
So you guys mentioned Steichen came out and said, like, this was my decision. I chose this. I think he has to say that because what player is going to come to a team owned by a person like Jim Irsay who steps in and says, you have to bench this guy. You have to bench this guy. How much overreach now does this owner have? If I'm a free agent and I'm like, man, I can go play in a stable ass organization like Kansas City or Baltimore or San Francisco, or I can go to Indy where maybe they have some pieces, but this owner, maybe he just, the wind blows a certain direction. He calls the coach and says, you have to bench him. You got to bench this guy. And the coach has to do it. It's like, obviously Steichen has to take the hit for this because if he doesn't, then I wouldn't play for him. I would not play for him because I'm like, oh, this owner is going to call and bench me at any moment, no matter what. And they have no patience. Like, I'm certain this came from the top.
I saw something today, and it's a fair point. At what point are players in the Colts organization going to not want to play for the Colts anymore?
Yeah.
If I'm a DeForest Buckner, if I'm a Michael Pittman, if I'm a well-established player, and the organization keeps showing this, there's no security anywhere. There's no direction. There's no goal. It's like you said, Nate, it's the wind blows this way. We're going to do that. At what point are those players going to say, hey, you know what? My career is short. Like you mentioned about Komet. My career is short. I want to win. At what point do they go elsewhere and, we're trading them for a bag of chips? Like,
yeah. And finally it clicked into my brain what I wanted to say a while ago. But with Irsay, I forgot. No, I'm just kidding. Irsay's fingerprints all over this, man, he is reaping what he sowed by keeping Ballard for a decade plus through excuse after excuse after excuse since Andrew Luck retired, and also just mediocre play. This has turned into he's the Marvin Lewis of GMs. When does not even making the playoffs become not enough, Jim? Because that's where we're going on a decade. And I get Andrew Luck, Hall of Famer, retired. But then also let's ask a question. Was Andrew Luck one of those guys that was an elevator and made the Colts look good and made him think, oh, we can compete with a vet? No, you just had a Hall of Famer on your team and made everyone around him better. Shocker that they do that. And you haven't been able to replicate that since. But it's like Irsay, because my question is, and you bring it up a little bit, Bob, with the players, and where you're not even just screwing Anthony Richardson's future, you're screwing over the whole locker room. Why is Josh Downs pissed? Well, again, it's the thing I talked about. He's building a chemistry now with a guy that is guaranteed gone after this season. So it's Super Bowl or bust again. And then it's just, okay, so what is the plan? Is Shane Steichen on the hot seat? I highly doubt it. But who the hell knows with Irsay? Is Ballard on the hot seat? I'd probably not, even though he should be. And it's like, that is just so dysfunctional. And I've said it for a while now, and it's easy to say when one of our guys is a Colts fan, but I think the Colts are the most interesting team just to look at because it is just what the fuck has been going on, what's going to go on. Who the hell knows? It's literally all up to Jim. They are the AFC Cowboys. I said that on the pod. It might even be worse. It legitimately might even be worse in Indy. And sure, Jerry hasn't won Super Bowls pretty much in our lifetime. Jim Irsay is a two Hall of Famers falling in his lap from just nothingness. And Andrew Luck really fell in his lap because it was just perfect timing for Peyton Manning's neck to be bad and all that. And it's just, man, like Jerry Jones at least has won Super Bowl. Cowboys have competed. When you don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, you're nothing. And I get that is an easy statement to say, but it's like, man, you don't get those often. You don't get those majority of the time, even if you do pick number 4 overall in the draft. So you got to figure it out some way, and they just haven't been able to do that. And because it's like Green Bay, and it's just what's going to happen when they finally don't have the quarterback. what we're seeing a little bit of in Indy, because it's just, man, they legitimately went from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to now it's just, we're lost. And they can't even handle the rookie right because they think the rookies are supposed to be first team all pro, for win the rookie of the year at minimum, become an MVP candidate in year 2, win 12 games, playoffs. It's like that does not happen. I said it over and over. Colts needed to be okay with a 6-win season. It's shitty. That is a 3-game regression. I get that. A 6-win season with flashes of Richardson, the potential for growth would have been a good thing because this is his rookie season. That's what you would have looked like. If you wanted to say through 17 games and then judge the last 4 games a little harder because it's like, well, you've played a full year, whatever, technically, sure, get there. We're not even there. We're not even there. We're 7 games away from a full season. And then they fucked it. They fucked it, and it's all because of Irsay. No one's gonna say it, so media guys got to say it. And then, but that's the thing, they can't even say that really as well, because it's like, will he freak out and just, you're banned from the press room, you're banned from this, you can't be the one to voice,
right? Like with Jerry Jones,
Jerry
and like
Jones,
telling
I'll
the guy,
fire you off this radio show. And I get Irsay might not do a radio. Oh, I lagged.
Yes. Oh,
It reminds me of a meme. There's no vision. There's no passion. There's no aggression.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel about the Colts right now. There is no vision.
Yeah.
Especially if we're going to be a win now team, we're never going to be drafting low enough to get a good quarterback. Arch Manning is our only hope. But other than that, I don't foresee Rich being our starting quarterback going forward. I really hope Ballard and Shane Steichen and Jim Irsay, the Colts just need to burn the building, everything. Fire your concession stand people, fire the people that park the cars. It doesn't matter. Everyone needs to be gone.
Fire the ballet people.
Move back to Baltimore and then move back to Indy to figure it out again. And here's another thing. What Manning holds the record for most interceptions as a rookie.
Yeah.
At what point, you know what I mean? Why was Manning never benched? Like,
never benched.
At some point, you got to believe in something, even if it ain't right. You got to trust your decision. And I saw it earlier on Twitter, and it is so true. A good leader lays out what their plan is, and they follow that plan.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's working. You got to have something to live by, because guess what? When you tell everyone we're going to trust him, it doesn't matter. We're going to go with him. We're going to go with the ups and downs. We're going to, let him fail, let him ride the highs, lows of lows, all that. When you go off of that, at some point you can never no one's ever going to believe anything you say. Jim Irsay said it. He said, we're on a highway right now, and there's no turning off of it. Well, you guys just fucking hit a UE.
Yep.
And are going backwards now, brother. Like, at some point, you got to trust your decision-making, even if it isn't the right one. Right. Guess what? We're 4-4. If we were 0-8, first of all, that'd be pretty good, because we'd at least have a good draft pick to go get another quarterback, if that's really what you think of him. But we're 4-4. We are in a playoff hunt. With the loss to the Texans, it definitely screws things up for the division. We haven't won a division title in years. I mean, that's just asinine to think that we're even close to competing. It's just not true. Until Ballard is gone, there's no vision. Until Irsay sells the team or his daughters take over the team, please, Carly Irsay, take over the team. Just get Jim out of there. He just needs to senile. He needs to be done with it. Like,
yeah, he's got to go, man.
I'm going to say this really fast just in case I start lagging, but oh man, I lost it.
No,
no, I got it. I was just trolling. Richardson, his first game in the league, he got banged up, finished. They lost by 10 against the Jags in his literal first start in the NFL. Since then, the next 9 has either been a Colts victory or a Colts loss less than by 6. He doesn't lose by more than a score. They've been in every single football game. I get that indicates maybe the team is good, but I believe that is also as well because of Richardson. At the end of the day, he's the quarterback out there, and they don't lose by much when he plays. So at the end of they're clearly in the football game. It's one way or the other. And again, that's where it boils back down to expectations better be high for Flacco. And better win a playoff game. You better win one.
Yeah.
100%. I got one last thing too, and this is, if you don't watch the games, you cannot look at the stats with Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry. These people that just look at the stat lines do not mean shit with him. If you go back and you rewatch the Colts game, it was probably his most accurate throwing to receivers. I understand maybe the timing's not there. Maybe he's not anticipating throws, things of that nature. Will Mallory had a big drop. Michael Pittman, over and over. Tyler Goodson, once again, wide open down the touchdown. Mo Alley Cox, old basketball player, can't go get a ball over someone who's 5'11"? What are we doing at this point? No one's helping him out. Pressure on 75% of the plays. He's running around all day. People are wondering why he's tired. Our O-line was a revolving door against the Texans. Good luck to Joe Flacco. They're going to put him in a home. But at the end of the day, you cannot just look at the stats with him. And I understand that's what a lot of people want to do. If you go back, Dolphins game, rewatch the Tyler Goodson touchdown. Show me how many defensive players stood still waiting for Richardson on an RPO. It's the reason Tyler Goodson scored. It is because he held 3 people frozen, not moving, waiting to see if he kept that ball. Tyler Goodson wide open in the end zone. There are things that don't show up on the stat sheet, and I understand that's not really what you want, not what you hope to have come out of having a quarterback. But at the end of the day, if Joe Flacco runs that play, Tyler Goodson is getting stuffed, and it is not even close. The run game suffers a lot. Explosive plays suffer a lot. And there's no quarterback. I get Joe Flacco had one good scramble. It was probably the longest of his entire career. I don't understand why Matt Ryan did the same thing. Longest scramble of his career was with the Colts. I don't get it. But anyway, there's so much that goes into the game that I think if you just look at the stat line, it is so hard to say. Once again, 1 of 7 are all deep throws. Out of the first 13 passes, 7 of them are deep throws. You're not helping your quarterback. Run a QB-centric offense that helps him succeed. Short intermediate stuff, QB option, bubble screens, anything that you can. Run that Dunlap offense.
Run that Dunlap offense, baby.
2014.
Come on.
Well, I have a question about in the Texans game, and I understand the high scoring pace, but Shane Steichen just loves to not play Jonathan Taylor or not give him the football.
Yeah.
He had 16 carries for over 100. 16? That's it? Why is he not in the 25-30 range? I understand that's a lot of carries. You have arguably the best running back in football.
Richardson only ran it twice as well. If you want to say win now, and here's the thing, you can say win now. Richardson needs to run it more than twice. If you want to say the future, don't run him. That's fine because of injuries. I get that. He gets hurt when he's outside of the pocket. Totally understood. But at the end of the day, if you want to say win now, you run him more than twice. You run Jonathan Taylor and you run an offense that helps him. You're not worried about running deep outside passes, deep crossers, anything like that. Run what helps you win the game, what helps him look successful, build confidence. You build a solid foundation. You get his feet right. You make sure when he's throwing with the right mechanics. He hasn't had a full offseason to do that. Right. That's the only bright spot I can see out of this right now is 2 things. One, you hope he matures. I've seen a lot of reports come out that they said he's not a professional NFL quarterback. I kind of get it. When he goes down, he fakes dead, and then he pops right back up just as a little joke. You got to have fun. They're friggin' playing football at the end of the day. It's a kid's sport.
Right. It's a game.
Millions to do it. But 2, the only good thing that's going to come out of this is if Anthony Richardson can go into a full offseason healthy to work on his mechanics, to understand what is needed of him, when to slide, how to throw a ball properly in the short and intermediate routes, how to go through his reads, things of that nature. I know Josh Allen did a really good job of that. Was it year 2 to year 3 or year 3?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Exactly. And honestly, too,
throwing motion.
Last thing, I know Colin Cowherd said the Colts receiving core is excellent. Josh Downs is hands down our best receiver. If you watch any Colts football at all, you'll know Michael Pittman's been hurt all year, whatever. He's not great. He does win 50-50 balls every once in a while. Alec Pierce is just a deep threat. And once again, A.D. Mitchell can get open with the best of them, but the timing's not there. He's a rookie as well. So we don't have a Stephon Diggs that he's throwing to. We don't have a reliable tight end. We have Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, Andrew Ogletree, like Will Mallory. You just can't do it. So, I think it's a terrible decision for him overall, but
I saw a tweet. I can't lie. I don't remember from who it was, but there's somebody that breaks down all 22 and they post videos of it. But they said this is one of the worst games all season from a receiver standpoint.
Yes.
If you
100%.
just watch the receivers,
100%.
No quarterbacks. You didn't watch the line, just the receivers. They had a terrible game in the Colts Texans game. And again, that's just a great way to help your young rookie struggling quarterback is to have receivers that have a really bad football game. And hey, Pittman, I love you. I love your toughness. When does you playing at 30% hurt the Colts? Because I think it does. When you're not actually a threat out there, it's an impact. Because you are supposed to be the number one. You are supposed to be the big security blanket. And you're hurt getting jammed. And you're also supposed to be a big physical blocker. Your back's messed up. Impacts you every single snap of the game. I'm sorry. I liked the decision originally. I don't know if Pittman should have played through this back injury because now it's just going to linger. And it just, again, where it's like, where's the help for your young rookie quarterback? I screamed on it for the Bears with Mitch Trubisky, with Justin Fields. Can we please do things these guys excel at? And I watched it for a 6-game stretch when Bill Lazor took over the play calling from Matt Nagy. The Bears were able to beat a bunch of bad teams, but Mitch looked good. They snuck in the playoffs. You get in the playoffs against the Saints. What happens? Matt Nagy takes over play calling. Mitch lays a dud. And it's like, well, we stopped allowing him to do things he was good at, and we put him back in scenarios where he struggles and said, hey, fish, go climb the tree. Oh, you can't. You're an idiot. And it's like, damn, I know that's the kid analogy, but it's so true. Ask a fish to climb a tree and judge him on that. You're going to think the fish is trash. Put a fish in water, watch him swim, and go, oh, he's good at that.
He's pretty good.
Shocker. Again, shocker. It's where it turns into, as much as I love Shane, I don't think he should go. I thought it was the grand slam home run hire. It has turned into a 2-run double for me with Shane Steichen, and it is becoming less and less. Because sure, Anthony Richardson, what are you doing throwing the football on 3rd down in your own red zone with 30 seconds? What are we doing with the play calling? And
right, run the ball.
Anthony Richardson he has to throw that ball because he has.
Yes. Bye-bye, Clark.
No, it is so true, though. I know this is stupid. You can say that's on Richardson at the end of the day as a head coach and an offensive play caller. You say, I don't give a shit what the look is. You run the ball here.
Yeah.
They said it was similar to when it was 10-0 against the Dolphins.
Yep.
It's so different. 10-10, you get ball at half. You defer to the second half.
Yep.
Run the ball. Let your defense play. Stroud had not looked great the first half. You take it out of his hands at that point. Like, you don't hand your kids a knife and then say, oh, they're so stupid. No, you don't give them the tools to do that. Like, you got to give them the tools to be successful 100%. And I think we've harped on it enough, but at the end of the day, it's an organizational failure from the top down. I mentioned this to Nate. It's like with drafting Richardson at 4th overall as the developmental project that he is. It's like me going to the store, getting eggs, coming home, cracking an egg and saying, what the fuck? Why is this not roasted chicken? It's because I went to the fucking store and I got eggs. At number 4, you drafted a developmental quarterback, and now you're concerned that he is needing to be developed. It doesn't make any sense. It's an organizational failure. I feel terrible for Anthony Richardson. Feel terrible for the people in the Colts locker room because this is a failure from Jim Irsay down. Ballard's somehow going to stick around. Gus Bradley's going to be the coordinator next year. We're just going to do this whole song and dance over and over again. We've done it for the past 5 to 6 years, it seems, where we'll have an old quarterback, get a new one next year, won't ever draft someone, and it'll just be the same old story. We'll be a mediocre team, the laughing stock. We can't even win the AFC South, which is disgusting. It's the worst division in football. And it's just the same thing every year. If you're a Colts season ticket holder, I feel sorry for you. You should ask to get your tickets redeemed, whatever you can.
Get your money back.
Don't support Jim Irsay. Don't support the Colts organization anymore. At the end of the day, they say everything sounds so good at the beginning of the year, and then we do this every single year. It's super disappointing as a fan, like spending all off season worrying about who we're going to draft, all those things, and then this is the product they put on the field, and this is the lies that they tell us in order to loop us, and it's just disgusting. So
it's tough. I agree. It's hard. Yeah, and you think about like Steichen was hired for this quarterback. Like he was hired and he picked this quarterback. It's like, oh boy, I don't even know if we're recording anymore, to be blunt. It says we are, so he's back.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like if we're losing Clark here, last bit for me and then we'll call it good. It's like you got to build an offense for Anthony Richardson, man. What are we doing? Like, I understand. Yes. Okay. Good job. Yes. Shane, it worked with Gardner Minshew and he looked serviceable. He didn't win a whole lot. He went 7-6, right? It looked serviceable. You had a whole offseason to build an offense around Anthony Richardson and what he does. It's what I was screaming at the Bears to do with Justin Fields. Guys, this is not a pocket passer. He can run, make the defense work off options, work off of RPOs, do whatever you have to do to make it work with him. He has a special skill. Anthony Richardson has special abilities, special talents. And they just are like, no, we would like you to play the traditional quarterback. And it's like, you drafted the wrong guy then, fellas. What are we doing? That's not what he does. That's not who he is. It's not what he's good at least at this point in his career. It took Josh Allen 3 years to be able to hit the broadside of a freaking barn. But the Bills were still a serviceable team because they didn't make him hit the broadside of a barn all the time. They got him out, used his legs, used his athleticism. That's what the Colts need to do. You've got to see some change. I need to see something from Shane Steichen because he has, if you only work with quarterbacks who do it exactly how you want them to do it, you're going to be in trouble. The only reason the Niners and Kyle Shanahan probably didn't lose his job and John Lynch probably didn't lose his job is because Brock Purdy fell into his lap. But they took Trey Lance at 3 and they didn't change the offense for him. And that offense would not have worked. And the 49ers would have been garbage. But they just got very fortunate that Brock Purdy fell into their laps and has worked so far. I would
It's
see a Brock
disgusting
Purdy in
'cause-
Indy.
It's disgusting because when Shane came in, that was what all he would talk about. But at the end of the day, we did this in preseason. We didn't run anything that helped Anthony Richardson, and we literally said, "Hey, this is your chance. These games don't matter. You go be a pocket passer," and he didn't succeed. The concerning part is it kind of seems like we've been doing that as of late, and shocker, he's not succeeding. Once again, he's not had a full off season to actually hone these skills, get better. He's just coming off shoulder surgery, learning how to throw again. You can't expect him to be a pocket passer. He's only played 10 games. The reps aren't there, but it's just a revolving door at quarterback for the Colts. And it's an absolute disgrace that we have to watch it. Like I said, yesterday was a real bad day to be a Colts fan. There've been a lot of them since 2018 and even going back further 2022.
I feel you.
Is Dallas Clark or Peyton Manning going to be our new head coach? I don't know. We'll see how Jim Irsay's feeling tonight, but Jim Irsay needs to sell the team. The Colts have no direction. Until we get direction, we will never be a successful franchise. And it is so sad that Anthony Richardson, good-hearted 22-year-old kid, is somehow made a mockery of and playing the blame game with him, because let me tell you something, the whole rest of the team is also at fault, and they really need to have a good look in the mirror to understand how bad they are as a team. So
Agreed.
You said that
Yeah.
you feel terrible for the Colts players and Anthony Richardson. I feel bad for our viewers because how bad I'm lagging.
I feel bad for you. I feel bad for me in editing this in a few minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Did I spell Whopper correctly?
Yeah.
I think so.
Mhm.
I think the shit part is, Bob, is I think every time Addison lags out, the recording is just going to be Addison like yelling at us, like, you're lagging. You're lagging. In reality, it's him.
Shit.
There's going to be some bloopers from this I'm excited about. But
Yeah.
that's, I think back to the point, Bob, I think you said it best. I think this is a shocking move for this season, as well as mainly for the future, man. I mean, you just shot yourself right in the foot going forward. It's like, now what's the plan, guys? Next year when Joe Flacco is in the retirement home, what are we going to do? What's the game plan going forward? There's, like you said, they're lacking vision. There's no vision there right now at all. Just completely gone. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough situation for sure going forward. I'm sorry you're going through it, my friend.
It's an average day as a Colts fan, baby.
That's right.
Ready to do it all again next year too.
Yep. I am ready to be hurt again. No doubt about it. Bring it on. Yes, sir. Well, I think that's all we've got for you guys this evening, talking a little bit of Colts action. So we'll be, if you haven't already, take a peek at our Week 9 game picks video and our Week 9 NFL power rankings. Those videos are both live on the channel currently, and we'll be back next week with some more of the same. So thanks, guys, for stopping in, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Peace. Sorry.